Okay, everyone, welcome to the weekend market wrap up. If you're new here, welcome. What we do is we take some time at the end of the week, we kind of zoom out and say, okay, what happened this week? And I find, especially with the craziness going on right now, it is good to have that kind of zoomed out type of view so we can get a good idea of what's going on in the overall markets. We're going to go crypto, we're going to go FX, we're going to go stocks, we're going to go underlying ideas. As always, what I do after this is I then run all of my systems and my algorithms and then make another video for StatsEdge Pro members. And what that entails is I have 4 systems now that I've backtested to 1980 that I've been trading live now for a number of years. Every week they spit out a bunch of symbols. We wait for the prices to occur. We have a Discord alert bot that will just alert you the second a price is hit. Say, hey, this thing, it came through the trend following algorithm at this price. Here's where your stop loss goes. Everybody knows how to trade all of those different algorithms. You can find all that information publicly on my website over at statsedgetrading.com. So if you're interested in that, you want to start trading with a provable edge as opposed to just trying to figure it out every week, definitely go check that out. A lot of people are very much enjoying it. They don't have to go hunting. They just wait for the tickers to come to them. If they end up liking them, then they'll go from there. And my discretionary pick this week is actually going to be from those algos. So stay tuned to that until the end. So without further ado, let's get started here with Bitcoin, BTC USD, $100,000. Sweet. I made a video yesterday. If you haven't seen that, go check that out on the channel as well. Just talking about how these psychological numbers are interesting in the short term. You can see a little action around them, some craziness. In the long run, they don't mean anything, right? So yes, 100,000, it went through, it popped through. Then we had, right? I would expect this nonsense around these whole numbers to maintain. It's just kind of the way it works that when you have everybody in the world watching a certain price or a certain price pattern or a flag or a cup and handle very, very closely, it very rarely becomes easy to then trade that. You'll see a lot of this fluctuation back and forth, and then it will make up its mind. So again, in the short run, this 100,000 may be a big deal as people are selling above it and buying below it and doing all that kind of crazy stuff. In the long run, this won't really matter. And we have to just bet on the direction of the underlying trend, right? Bitcoin has these massive breakouts and insane moves, and then it crashes. Just kind of what's happening. And now it could be done. Maybe it's a little bit more institutionalized to have those, but this is what it does normally. It does these big pops and then these crashes, and these pops and then these crashes. So as long as it's going to be in a bull market, I think you have to maintain that. Now, I was very full disclosure, I had sold a big chunk of my Bitcoin trade in this kind of 90 to 95,000 because I figured this kind of nonsense would take place. As we went back through another 100,000, I took a trade here, and then when we sold off, as we came back through it today, I bought a little bit more. So I'm trading around this kind of core position that I have down here in the 60s, just in and out and in and out of most of the position, and then holding that little bit just for a runner in case this thing goes crazy to 300,000 or something wild like that. Ethereum is finally starting to get going. Finally. This has been a dog for absolute ever, but finally challenging these prior highs right here at 4,000. If it gets through that, we have 5,000 as the next target. That's already a pretty good percentage gain. And then through there, maybe Ethereum joins the party with Salana and Bitcoin and everything else that's breaking out. So it could be a little bit of a laggard play. I'm watching it through this prior level right here. If we can kind of stick the landing for a few days, if we get buyers on pullbacks, things like that, if we can start to get that, then I'm more interested now in Ethereum now that it's finally getting going. Solana, speaking of, kind of looks great here, right? We had this massive cup and handle breakout, and then when it broke out, it's just consolidated here for a period of time between 250 and 200 back and forth. Just looks like a very nice tight potential bull flag going on here. So if this breaks higher, again, that's going to be what I'm going to look for in Solana. I think that could definitely take place, and that's this high, right? So if we get a push from there, we're back to this prior high at 260, and then we're at 260 here. If we get through 260, you got to expect that there's going to be some momentum and FOMO chasing. Again, with the Bitcoin and the crypto markets, when they go they really go, and momentum pays. Then there's times where, all of this time right here, this downtrend and sideways action, it doesn't play. It doesn't make sense to trade momentum in these periods of time. But in these periods of time, I'm going to continue to trade momentum as long as things continue to work as well as they are doing. Into traditional currencies, we have the dollar index. So I talked about this on the Monday show. The Monday show is usually just devoted to crypto and FX deep dive. So wherever you're seeing this, make sure you're subscribing. You can go to statsedgetrading.com. You can sign up to the free email list there as well. I email out every time I do a video. So if you're, worried about missing something, that's the best way that I can just send something to you directly. I say here, I don't spam, maybe one a day. Say here's a video if you want to check it out. If not, just delete the email. DXY, we broke through this prior high and then we pulled back. Now, just like when we were down here, I don't expect us to break these highs and then pull back all the way to the low again. I would more expect a breakout, a little bit of a pullback, and then potentially if we start to dig in here and push higher, we could see new highs for the dollar. As a Canadian who's paid in USD, that'd be fantastic for me, but it's kind of what we're seeing. The other option that we need to keep in mind here is that currencies don't move a whole lot. So we could just be chopping around here for the foreseeable future, which I don't think would be a bad thing at all. Gold. So gold, I'm still watching the same trade. So I talked about this on Monday as well. This anchored VWAP this was the election, and then we pulled back after the election was done, and then bounced, and now we're hugging that anchored VWAP from before the election. If we can get a bounce off of this zone, then I'm going to like gold to the long side. However, we look at silver, it just can't get going. We had this massive pop over this. We can kind of redraw this resistance line to here. So we had a big pop over that resistance line, and then we faded. And now you can see the alert I have set here. I'll move that up a bit. But now it looks like we could be coiling back over, and then this would be a failed breakout of this high. Like Brian Shannon always says, from failed moves come fast moves, which means we could have a push down off of this particular zone. So that would probably mean gold is going to join it a little bit if this becomes bearish. But gold and silver have been diverging for quite some time. We've had this awesome move in gold, not so much at all in silver. Over to the equity markets, didn't have a whole lot if we go into the 1 week chart here. This was the week. This is the candle, a bullish candle and a good looking breakout, but nothing insane. And you can see we had a gap up and then kind of 3 days of nothing. And then these 2 days were nothing. So a little bit lackluster, but definitely still strong. So there's nothing you can say about the fact that this is not a strong market. So we just got to keep riding it. This trend is going to continue. However, when I look at something like RSP, which is the equal weighted, so this is showing us what the average stock in the S&P 500 is doing, not as hot. All right, on the weekly basis, we're actually down quite a bit. So it's showing us that a lot of these big names like Tesla just rocketing, this is holding up these markets where these other markets, the equal weight isn't doing so well. So don't feel bad if you have a portfolio of stocks that aren't doing well, even if you're seeing the market rocketing, because that's what's happening. Same with IWM, which is 2,000 of the smallest capped stocks out there. Just nothing weak, just a slight pullback of a week. So, not a lot to do. We're coming to the end of the year. We're getting close to that, Christmas, New Year's holiday where things quiet down a bit. We could be seeing, I think, is what may be going on is some tax loss harvesting. So anything that is down on the year or hasn't done very good on the year, people are selling. They're holding a lot of these names that are doing very well, again, like Tesla, and getting into those names. And that's something that could occur for a period of time. And then when that tax loss harvesting is done, then we could maybe see a bounce back in these other names. Not necessarily bearish right now, but just understand that if you're not holding a big name, then, might not be the time to be super excited. KRE, so these are regional banks pulling back as well. We have the anchored VWAP before this massive gap. So this was the election gap. You can see it acted as support right here. potentially acting as support right here as well. So we have a couple pullbacks to this anchored VWAP. So I'm interested in this. This is one of my discretionary ideas for next week. If we get a nice pullback or a nice bounce off of this level on regional banks, we could take a shot there on name your favorite. Uranium as well is very interesting. I drew this anchored VWAP pinch a while ago, and we broke that and we looked good for a couple days, but now we're back down to test this anchored VWAP. So this is another one that if it digs in uranium, we could start to maybe look at these SMR, NNE, a lot of these crazy names that do well whenever uranium is pushing. China, FXI, still very interesting. I mentioned this on Monday on Trader TV. And the idea here is that we're pulling back into a very significant area after that monster move in China. We're pulling back to an area that makes perfect sense, in my opinion, to keep an eye and to watch these things as they kind of joscillate around. So I'm still keeping an eye on this. As long as we hold above this kind of $30 area in FXI, I'm going to be interested in names like Baba, JD.com, all of these names. Now, some of these, I've been seeing a theme. So we have three algos in StatSet trading. We have a trend following one. This is longer term in nature. The average hold time for a winner is like 2 months, maybe 3. The average hold time for a loser is a couple weeks. So we're buying these things and we're hoping they break out and they move for an incredibly long period of time. When the market's trending, this algo does fantastic, right? We pick up trends that continue. We have a pullback algo where we're looking for something that was really, really strong. And now it's just kind of pulling back. And I use systems and indicators and everything to say this is a spot that we should look at. And then we have the mean reversion algorithm. And this is just looking for something that looks like STNG, where you were down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks in a row on a stock that's relatively strong. If we go back, this is 2021 at $8, and then it goes up to $84. So this is a 10x from here to here. Now, with this pullback, the idea is that it might be time to look for a bounce. Now, full disclosure, I own a bunch of these names already because the algo keeps finding them and keeps giving them to me. This particular system, again, it's looking for these things to dip and then not to rip to all-time highs. We're just trying to take a tactical entry on something that's a little bit oversold. So if we go SCNG or TNK, here's another one as well, down the same amount into this zone right here. Again, the idea is these things are pulling back. We want to take a quick hit. We want to be out in a week or two, hopefully at a higher price. We are right, I think 56, 57% of the time. And we make about 1.5 to 1 when we're right than when we're wrong. So over the long run, this is a very good income generating setup. And again, it's part of what we do over at StatSet Pro. If you want all of the 30 ideas that are going to be spit out, definitely come check us out there. But these are kind of my discretionary as well. I want to watch these very closely into the next week just because they're getting a bit insane. You're talking 10 weeks down in a row without a green week. If we can get involved and get a single green week higher, then this is going to look good. I guarantee you these are probably going to be on the report that I run. I have to wait 20 minutes for the market to close, but I'm going to run that script. I'm going to download all the data and all that. I'm pretty sure that it's going to just be filled with these shippers for that particular mean reversion algo. So watch these. If we start to get some action next week, again, we're looking for a bounce. If we get in at 50 and we can get out at 55, that's a 10% gain. Great. We take that hit. We move on to the next one. Again, just a quickly compounding name as opposed to some of these slow breakout strategies. So again, thank you all for coming by and checking this out. If you've made this long, please give a retweet, tell your friends, make sure you're signed up for that email list, or you're following with alerts on wherever you're watching this. I have a big important video that I'm pushing out next week, and I would really like everybody's help sharing that around. So get ready for that. And until I talk to you guys next time, get away from the screens.